tonight. Thank you all for coming in a lousy night. We appreciate it very much. We're just going to go through just quickly a list of the things that, and an update to you all for things that we've been involved in. And we're going to start with the candidates forum we had for the April election. John's going to fill us in.
Yes. So about 2 weeks ago, Citizens for Milford sponsored a candidates forum on March 19th, and it was very successful. We had all the candidates from the school committee race, health board, and the board of selectmen. It was well attended. It was professional. We had a great time, and of course, yesterday we had the election here in Milford, and we have a new selectman, Will Kincaid, and we have three school committee members, John Erickson, Mike Walsh, and I'm blanking on the third one, Steve. Oh, it's Scott Harrison. Sorry, Scotty. And so it was a great election. It was an okay turnout, but the forum itself was very well done, and we're happy with the results.
Well, I guess I beg to differ with you, John, a little bit about the great turnout.
Yeah.
You know, I guess I personally was really disappointed with the turnout. What was it, 2,300 or something like that, out of 16,000 possible voters? You know, I just...
I was talking about the turnout at the forum.
Oh,
That is.
okay.
I said the turnout for the
You
election.
ended with the election,
Yeah.
and, gosh,
Yeah.
I was so disappointed in that. I mean, one of our primary missions is to get people involved in the political life in Milford, you know, and we worked very hard. We got a great website that has all the information for months ahead as people take out papers and everything, and thought we could drum up some business, but it was a very marginal turnout. So I'm not sure where we can go from there, but we'll keep working at it.
There's only one direction to go.
Up. By the way, welcome, Chief O'Loughlin.
Happy to be here.
Thank you very much for coming here. And that's one of our other missions here, is to provide access to citizens to the town officials. And one by one, we'll go through all of them as we go through the year here. We hope soon we'll be able to work it out so that people can call in, people that couldn't actually attend here, and ask their questions then. That has some things to be worked through first. So we'll keep on that. Another area that we're pursuing here is the impact of immigration to Milford schools. And in talking with school officials, we're finding out that it's becoming an increasingly difficult problem, largely because the funding, we're not getting the funding from the state and the feds to help us in this, you know. And we see communities like ourselves, Framingham, Lawrence, Lowell, towns that have really been impacted in this. We need some help from the state. We need very specific help in this area. So we're looking into maybe what we can do to help out in that area. We got a beautification day coming up, and I'm going to ask Kathy if she could speak a little bit about that.
Actually, it's Amy Sanborn that's in charge of this. It's in conjunction with Farmers Market and Republic Service. It's a beautification day. It's on April 25th from 9 a.m. until 1 p.m., rain or shine. We're going to have a table set up across from Sacred Heart in the parking lot that's across from there. We'll have bags, gloves, vests, water, T-shirts, all donated by Republic Services. And then we'll get you a trash assignment where you're going to pick up. Our main focus is going to be on downtown Milford, but depending upon the number of volunteers we get, we'll probably try to work off of 109 and 85 also. Pickup is going to be done by designated volunteers that have trucks, like Steve and my husband and John Tian. Anyone who's got a truck will just go around and pick up these bags. And prior to that, we did contact the Worcester County Sheriff's Department, and they're going to be coming out on April 23rd and 24th. They'll probably give us about 3 to 4 inmates, and we'll figure out what areas we want them to concentrate in, whether it's municipal lots, or I noticed 85 the other day was just, it's really bad. Once the snow starts melting, it's starting to show up. So we'll pick a couple of areas and have them concentrate on those areas.
Not at the same time as the rest of the team.
No, they're gonna be 2 days prior to us, and then we'll go out on the 25th. And then Scott Crisafulli has offered we contacted him. He's going to allow for the inmates to go in for lunch, to have someplace to sit and have their lunch and then use the facilities. They don't come out in bad weather or drizzle or whatever, so depending upon the weather, they may not come at that time. We sent info to the Town Crier, WMRC, and the Milford Daily News, so we're looking for people to show up and get your friends, your family, whatever, and come on out, even if it's only for an hour or two. Just show up across from Sacred Heart, grab a bag, and we'll give you an assignment, and, we'll get this town cleaned up. Now that the snow's melted, it's out there, so.
Kathy,
Again,
can you
what
t-
time?
Yeah.
Between 9 a.m. and 1 p.m. on Saturday, April 25th.
Yeah,
So, across the street from Sacred Heart, that empty parking lot. We'll have a table set up. You'll get all your bags.
Whatever time
and-
you can put in.
Yeah, there'll be somebody there with
Somebody
bags and gloves and vests and whatever you need. And then we'll figure out where we want the bags to be put, so that, and then, you let us know where they are, and we'll get them. And we'll get them out of there.
Thank you, Kathy.
Okay?
Sorry?
Which one?
Thank you. Just briefly, I wanted to mention the other thing we're looking into is precinct voting locations. Well, we've put this off until after the election that was just held, so that Amy can help us out with that. This is a state law.
Yeah.
That's not a conflict
Yeah, I
by
know.
state law.
So you weren't talking about necessarily public employees,
Yeah,
right?
I'm
Were you?
talking about a person who can stand up and have a direct vote on the salary either of himself, like Jerry votes on his own salary, which is fine. But they've been doing it for years, and it's
Jerry
fine.
pays his own property taxes too.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah,
I pay my property taxes.
yeah, I'm not saying don't vote, I'm saying abstain.
Why would I abstain if I'm contributing?
Well, that's where I just think it's the nature
You
of the
can
beast,
disagree
you ought
with
not
me, I
vote on.
respect
Yeah,
that.
I think the state statute
It's
is.
clear.
Yes, we actually looked into this, and
Yeah.
because it
I'm
is
sure.
obviously a direct conflict to
It
vote
is.
on your own salary, the legislature put in an exemption
Of course.
to say that any municipal or state employee this is for municipal law, that any municipal employee can in fact vote and be a town meeting member, as well as be a municipal
This
employee.
is not a town bylaw.
Because it impacts on others generally.
Yeah.
So Article 2, if you're voting on Article 2, you're not voting solely on yourself. You're
Right,
voting for others generally.
right.
Yeah, they're not voting, the whole budget is together with everybody's salary, there's not line items for his
I
salary.
think the chief's salary is the domain of the select.
I bargain my contract, so I. And I do it personally, and it's face to face.
But you see, the analogous situation to that is the thing I brought up at the forum. When you have a person on the school committee who's voting on the contract of the teachers, if they have a relative who's a teacher, they cannot negotiate, they have to recuse themselves. In other words, they have to abstain. What's the difference?
Well, if you carry that into private business, then anybody that used Gillette razors shouldn't be able to vote or buy or decide pay raises in Gillette. Their relatives buy. No, it is. Why? I invest in that company just like I invest in this
As
community.
an employee of a private company for 37 years, I could not vote on my relative's salary, nor could I put it in my salary.
Right, but, the
Couldn't do it.
fact is, it's
Nor could I have my
moved
relative
because
work
it's
for
a
me.
state law.
Yeah, it's
I know,
a,
I'm just saying, maybe we ought
it's a
to.
state
Well,
law.
Steve, you can see that this is a very
Controversial.
It
Oh,
is.
it is.
It is.
So maybe that's why Jose stayed away tonight.
But I think we all agree that attendance of town meeting members should be made more public. If people are town meeting
It
members,
actually
they don't
is,
show up.
it's on the
It
website.
is, but no, but it's not enough just, I've never seen it, has anybody, no. It needs to be accessible and out there,
It's on the town clerk's section of the
but it's
website.
buried, it's buried.
No, it's not.
Huh?
You go to
No,
the town
we-
clerk, it's right there.
Okay, so
Yeah.
you go to the town clerk's
Town clerk's
website.
website, yeah.
Forms and documents,
Yeah,
and
you
it
click
lists
on
it all
all
over.
four.
You're right, John, when you say
But I think
150.
he's suggesting that if you have someone that is elected in and they never attend, there should be a mechanism to address that.
Yes.
I
People
mean,
notification.
if you had a board of selectmen and 2 members never showed up, you'd
Yeah.
get nothing done.
Right.
The average citizen has no idea if their town meeting member is showing up, unless they make a point to look at that.
Well, I would say you guys have a good social media audience. I would say that someone in your group can go to town hall, request
Get that stuff and put it on.
post it. This
Yes.
is precinct 1 attendance for the last 3 years.
Good point.
2, 3, 4, all through 8.
It will be
It's a great
done.
idea.
It's a great, one of our initiatives, and we're gonna, if we can actually jump into that now, is
It's on town.
the town website is very limited. We want to expand the town website should be the go-to place for anything you want to find about in town, whether it's public or private. If Claflin Hill is having a concert Saturday night, you should be able to go to the town website and find out when and where and how to get tickets, right through linkage, right?
Yes.
But right now, there is almost no private access to any private companies or businesses or community events through our website. It's very limited. So we think that the town website should be the portal to get information about town meeting, to get information about town finances, or to get information about community events, private events, businesses, and so forth. So that's on our to-do list.
Okay, that's our to-do list.
You're gonna be
Mike.
busy.
We got a question over here.
You had
I
a
just
comment?
had a couple of comments
Yeah.
on the issues that were just brought up. One being town employees or relatives of town employees as town meeting members voting on their own or their relatives' raises. Mr. Coster and I had a discussion, and one of the things we discussed was maybe at the very least, when a person takes the podium to speak, in addition to identifying who they are, they should at that point identify that they are either a town employee or have a direct family member that is an employee of the town. And that might go a long way in letting the voting town meeting members know why that particular person might be either an advocate for or against that particular
This would
article.
be a voluntary statement or a mandatory statement. Right, you can't mandate that someone,
The ethics law doesn't require it, so you can't create a bylaw that's contrary to the ethics law.
I
Well,
think,
I'm not necessarily saying that we need to create a law, but maybe we can speak with the moderator and see if they can ask, could you please identify, he always asks, could you please identify yourself, and maybe your place of employment.
I agree with the chief, I don't think it's gonna be legal. Or
If there's anyone that can't
Well-
hide, it's me, so.
Well, I don't know one way or another. Mr. Coster and I had that discussion, and
I think that's one of the mysteries of the town meeting as a body. It's a lot of people who are not town employees who would like to serve as town meeting members think that the town meeting is in fact stacked with town employees. Not that there's anything wrong with that per se, but as a pure numeric, it would be nice to know for the public's edification whether or not town employees are the majority of the town meeting members or a small percentage. That way there'd be more
That's something
comfort
we
if
can
it was.
find out.
You could easily publish based on that, the records, whether it's 12% of town employees or 82%. It's an
someone would have to do
interesting,
the work.
it's an interesting number,
Public record.
Yeah, it's public information.
yeah.
Mike, did you have a follow-up question?
well, I had like a couple of comments. One, the next one was on the receiving information on the articles beforehand, which I think is a good idea to some extent. For a person who likes to do a lot of research on the articles before going to town meeting, it would be nice to have as much information as possible. The flaw is in that is that if you pass out and distribute the articles, which town meeting members do get hard copy of now, there's no way of knowing if in fact that article is going to be presented as printed. So it could be not totally unrelated, that the motion could be not totally unrelated to the article, but so far removed from the article as printed that town meeting members are voting on a whole different thing. And this has happened at a recent town meeting.
Yeah, the land article.
The land article,
article
where
is
I
totally
believe,
different.
town meeting members were, quite frankly, blindsided by the motion. And a lot of them, I believe, thought they were voting on something that they were not voting on. So I think that one of the things we might look into is if the warrant is printed, then the motion should be made exactly as the article is printed. So that anybody who wanted to do research on that specific article as printed doesn't go to town meeting and get blindsided by some related but far removed from that printed article.
Reno, you taking all this stuff down?
Very good, very good.
Thank you.
Just one more, am I 3 minutes up or do I have one more?
Now that you're not a selectman candidate, you don't have a time limit.
Well, that 3 minutes goes by wicked fast, I gotta tell you. You were talking about the website and how, I tell you, it is difficult to traverse. I would compare it to, and maybe we can use as a blueprint to some degree, the Town of Upton website, which I believe is very well laid out. And one of the things they do that I would like to see on our website, and I know that people say, well, they're posted on the bulletin board in Town Hall, but how many people, go down to Town Hall and go read the bulletin board? I would like to see, I think if we can have on the website the agendas for the specific committee and board meetings prior to the meeting, not after the meeting, but prior to the meeting. That way, someone who might be interested in something that's on the agenda would be able to access it online.
And that's not
Yeah.
currently online?
Currently, it is not online.
Well, that's a good suggestion.
But if you have nothing to do someday, check out Upton's website, and you'll see it's laid out very nicely. It's easy to traverse. Quite, I don't want to throw stones, but Milford's website, it's a nightmare if you're looking for stuff, quite frankly.
We agree.
Back here?
I was just wondering, how frequently do articles change or the data supporting them change? Would it be more efficient to have the town meeting members download their own data? Because then, as opposed to having a change, having to send them an email, having a change, having to resend, where they could check the website to see, something that changed, and they could download a fresh whatever.
In other words,
Just an idea, not for discussion, just
post the
consideration.
changes on the website.
Yep.
Yeah, I suppose if we're emailing out links to all of the stuff that's on the website, then perhaps if something changes, then another email could automatically be sent
With
saying,
the
hey,
updated link.
here's an updated link, this one's changed.
That's a
Yes.
good suggestion.
It is actually kind of rare to see an article get substituted on the warrant. The land article
Yeah.
is one case in point, but it's actually pretty rare.
Right. So who in town would be responsible for sending these emails out to town meeting members? I mean,
Rick Bonani.
is it the
Town
town clerk?
Town clerk, yeah,
Okay.
I would think.
All right,
If you get hard copy from her, I just keep saying, what a waste of money.
right. Let's get her on the agenda, the next
Okay.
public meeting, Steve.
Okay.
John, I forgot one quick thing, I'll be quick.
Okay.
Not agree with that. I think as long as the speaker is on point and on topic, they should be allowed to speak as long as they want on the particular article. The moderator would determine if they are getting off track or off subject. There is no reason why any of the town presentations should have an unlimited amount of time to speak, and then you're going to limit town meeting members or registered voters from speaking as long as they
There's
want.
also a mechanism to call a question where the people, if someone's speaking too much, people can call a question and shut it off that way. So there's already a procedure in
They could
place.
also, if they feel the person is getting off the article, they could also raise a point of order. And
Right, and the moderator-
the moderator would make the
do
final
that as well.
decision, but in some cases, this happens, people talking about, getting sidetracked and off on a tangent about everything other than really what the article is
Yeah,
about.
but I think Mike does a good job of bringing people right back to the topic.
Yeah.
Oh, I believe he does.
You know, I mean, he can't be, can't be perfect, but he brings people back to the topic, and he doesn't allow them to make personal comments either. So that's really the moderator's job.
Well, I can tell you, I for one would hate to be shut off because my 5 minutes ran out if I was on point and talking about the particular article.
Right.
Well,
Understood.
the point was not to limit speech. You can talk all night. It's to control speech. You speak, you have a time limit, you sit down, somebody else speaks. If no one else speaks, you get back up. If no one else speaks, you can keep speaking until someone else speaks, but someone moves the question.
Maybe it could
Remember,
be,
it's not to limit speech.
Right.
It's to control speech so everybody has an opportunity to
but
speak.
maybe it could be promulgated as a guideline. Please, as a guideline, limit your talk or your speech to 15 minutes or 10 minutes.
Well, yeah, the
It's
mechanics
not a
of it
rule,
get
but
tricky.
as a, if you're gonna spend enough time to frame an argument like some of the members do, you ought to say, could you kindly try to structure it in such a way that you can speak your piece in 15 minutes as a maximum, rather than go on and on and on, because people can go on point
But,
forever.
I mean, the great irony is 99% of the time, nobody brings up anything. No one asks any questions.
Right.
If you go to a town meeting, you'll see that. There is very little discussion on 95% of the articles. True or false?
Oh, yeah, sure.
So I think there is usually a lack of controversial statements as opposed to too much. So I actually would agree that, I'm not sure I want to limit or even, control, maybe that's something we can consider.
Well, that's all we consider control.
Yeah.
Not limiting speech.
Just-
Well, the legislature has controlled speech. Every representative gets up there and he's got so many minutes, and then he sits down and someone else gets the floor and he gets back up and they go on for hours.
No, that's a good
You
point.
know, it's not, no way limiting speech. It's not part of this country.
Okay.
We just want to have it controlled such that everybody has an opportunity to speak.
Wants to-
We got any other items before we turn it over to the chief, or?
Or you're gonna turn it over to the chief right now. The chief is here to answer any of your questions, so we welcome the questions. The whole idea is to give folks access to the town officials, and the chief has been gracious enough to be here with us tonight, so bring it on.
Thank you,
Chief,
Tom.
I have this parking ticket here. I'm wondering.
Mike, I was gonna say to you, 3 minutes is not a long time unless you're in front of the microwave. That is correct.
Well, he was microwaving that ticket, so. I have a question about traffic lights in town, if I may.
Yeah, I own them.
I know you do, that's why I'm asking. I frequently have to drive my daughter to her job. She works early in the morning, 6:30 most mornings, 6 a.m. some mornings. At 5:30 in the morning, I'm sitting at a traffic light, it's red. The other way is green. There's nobody on the road. Is there any way that we could flip those lights over to flashing yellow one way, flashing red the other way for periods of the day where there's just no traffic?
They're not doing the flashing anymore because of conflicts. They end up with accidents. So what they're doing, and all of the new lights along Main Street, they all have sensors. So you pull up, if you come right up to the stop line, you're gonna trip that sensor. It's gonna realize there is no one else at the others, and it's gonna give you the priority. There are some that don't have the sensors because of construction. Not Jefferson Street, that one's fixed. West Street at Congress.
I'm talking about Fortune Boulevard, and there's a light up there. I sit for 90 seconds at 5:30 in the morning
Which
on
one?
Sunday.
The one-
By the Target, in the back entrance into the Stop and Shop Plaza, Quarry Plaza.
That is a long light.
That is a long light, and I sit there
The one,
waiting.
the Lowe's in Quarry?
No, not those, by Target.
You're talking coming out of Stop and Shop.
Coming out of the back
So
door
further up,
into
okay.
Quarry Plaza.
Let me look at it, because
Yeah.
there are sensors there.
Yeah, that one.
So if they're
that
not
one doesn't
tripping,
seem-
we'll test
Yeah,
them.
that one doesn't seem to trip. The one also, 140 and 16, 5:30 in the morning,
I
a
don't
couple
know,
of weeks
it's
ago.
state, call it
Okay,
state.
state.
That's DOT.
I was sitting there, honestly, the I sat there through the red light, and then the walk signal came on. And so I had to sit there for another 30 seconds, and the snow was piled up on the sidewalks, no one could walk.
But just so you appreciate this, if an emergency vehicle goes through and uses the preemption,
Yeah.
the cycle of those lights, to include ours, it then goes into a pedestrian cycle.
Okay.
So if you see the white light flashes up above, that means at some point an ambulance, police car, fire engine went through.
Yeah.
And what it does is to give them time, in the event there's more than one emergency vehicle, it trips into a pedestrian cycle.
Okay.
So it gives them 20 seconds. So that's the premise. It's Mass DOT, they require it. I don't know if it's under the federal guidelines, but they require it. We had to do it all along Main Street. But anything along Route 140, to include that major intersection of, Highland Street, West Street, that's all state. They own those lights. They own the lights at the, where you come on and off 495. They own the one at Beaver. I own a bunch of the others.
Can I ask about the one right in front of the library here? By the laundromat, it lets like 2 cars through.
Yeah.
And then it's.
Right, and
It's
that's
horrible.
and that's based on traffic count. So it's an issue of, they took a look and they,
But when you're backed up
I
at 2
understand,
a.m.
but they had traffic, mechanisms out there to do the counts by the hour of the day. These lights are smarter lights. And they programmed them based upon the hour of the day and the traffic volume that they saw.
I have a question, George. I'd like to be deputized, now that I'm retired, I've got a lot of time on my hands, and I'd like to be deputized to write tickets for people with expired registration stickers. I bet you every day I go out, I see people in parking lots on the roads with either expired stickers, or I question where the heck they got the sticker from in the first place, based on the condition, the visual condition of their automobiles.
You mean inspection stickers?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
they are everywhere. And I just think if you deputize me, I can raise a significant amount of revenue from the town.
Well, we write people for, you're talking inspection stickers, not registration stickers. Yeah, we write them for them. You deal with that, I deal with handicap parking, I deal with registration. We do have one vehicle, the state gave us the license plate readers. You'll see the car has 3 cameras on the back of it.
Oh, okay.
As that office is moving along, that vehicle's reading every single license plate in both directions. And it will tell the officer if it has an invalid inspection sticker, invalid registration, the person that owns it is wanted. So it gives them, and it just scans.
That's great to know.
I didn't get it. What's
It's an automatic license plate reader.
It's on
So,
one vehicle though.
yeah, that's $20,000. It's, I'm not buying any. I'll take
More
them.
than pay for itself.
I'm not buying them. I don't get the money, so. But, you can drive to a shopping center, it'll read, just as fast as you drive, a trooper driving down the highway, it'll read every single license plate that trooper goes by.
Well,
And what it does is it also tells you which direction the vehicle's traveling. It shows you a picture of the vehicle, so you know what you're looking for and where they went. Very effective tool. It does log the information, and we're working with the state. They're developing the standards in working with ACLU and others on how long that information is maintained.
Okay.
Because people that aren't involved in criminal activity, why are we maintaining their information? And it's so effective that if you go up Purchase Street, there's a picket fence. It actually reads it as Massachusetts 1111111, and it doesn't come back because there's no such plate. So it picks up everything in its sight, and it's an effective tool. But the officers, they're observant for those types of things. The difficulty with inspection stickers, one, weather. 2 is, if you remember back years ago, you had your car inspected twice a year, right? And we all knew it was this time of the year and that time of the year. Now it's based upon when, related to the expiration of the year.
See, I always do my part, because I'll stop the woman who's driving the car, and I'll say, don't say it, I know what you're gonna say, you're gonna say it's your husband's fault.
And it probably is.
And probably,
So, and it's usually, if the vehicle, if it's an issue, the vehicle can't receive an inspection sticker, then you have to deal with those violations.
Yeah.
But for the most part, you know, the registry used to notify you, you knew when to go. They don't notify you even now about renewing your license, renewing your registration.
No, it's
We
not.
run into expired registrations. Yeah, I'm not giving that person a $500 fine. Go get your car re-registered. You know, they can go online and do it. You know, if someone hands you their license and it expired on their birthday 2 months ago,
I hate
you
it.
know, they didn't get noticed, they forgot. You know, I'm not gonna lock them up, I'm not gonna charge
I
them.
saw it 2012.
Yeah, listen, we run into it all the time, you know, where people, it's an issue of, how many of you know the date when your license is expiring? You know, it's on your birthday, it's what year, so, you know, it's an issue of being fair and appreciative of the fact that they may have simply gone past it, yet they can go right online that night and renew it. You know, and we know that, we can check it. If it's not renewed for a reason, it's gonna come up on our computer.
Let's shift gears a little bit, Chief. How bad is the drug problem in Milford? I mean, we see that the governor and the attorney general have formed this opiate task force because of, you know, the heroin, there's a big spike in heroin, you know, problems, addictions, and overdoses. Does Milford have a big problem with this, or is it?
I serve on the district attorney. He formed his own task force for Worcester County with the intent to do education, with the intent of treatment, and to deal with enforcement and any other measure to get at it. Heroin is at epidemic portions.
What are you talking about, Milford?
I'm talking every single community in Massachusetts, every single community, honestly, across this nation. The Attorney General came out the other day, and in the first quarter of this year, 217 people died to heroin overdoses in Massachusetts, and that does not include a single number from Boston, Springfield, or Worcester. And they have separate homicide units. So the homicide units out of the district attorney's offices that handle the cities and towns other than Boston, Springfield, and Worcester, 217 people dead. The estimate is that we've jump-started using Narcan, we've brought them back, easy, fivefold, and maybe greater. So we've saved, in the first quarter, 3 months, between police, fire, EMS. We have Narcan in every police car. So we've saved, and we've saved, in the first quarter this year, we've saved 3 people here.
Wow.
We've had 2 deaths
Right.
in Milford.
So Tom, walk us through, you know, the drug dealers. Somebody's getting the drugs to the streets. So what do you guys do to go after the top dogs?
There's a number of impacts, and to be appreciative of the impacts, I mean, how do people end up over? It's supply and demand. How do you end up as being part of the demand? Much of it, not all of it, but much of it comes from pharmaceuticals. So people that are prescribed opiates, so OxyContin, pain relievers, and they may be legitimate. You know, this person has a severe injury. Phenomenal painkiller, very addictive. You know, parents' cabinets, you know, medicine cabinets, grandparents' medicine cabinets. And they're coming and they're taking some, now they're hooked. You buy 1 OxyContin on the street, it's $1 a milligram. So 80 milligrams, $80 to $100. Matters what the day he's bringing that day, it might be 120. You know, it's supply and demand. I have a lot of people want it, the price goes up.
But where are these dealers, are they coming out of Boston? Are they coming out of Providence and coming to Milford?
Local grown.
They come in, we have some here, we have them, actually the last group we've been arresting are out of Lowell.
And coming down to Milford
Yeah.
on a daily basis, or they come and
Right.
stay in our hotels?
No,
They come down, sell their drugs, and they go back to
it's all
Lowell?
programmed.
Where are they selling? Where are you finding them, or aren't you?
Name the street.
So you're picking people up on every street in the town?
They go and, it's like the old, when I was younger, the milkman came every day, I went to each house, they know where they're going. Phone calls,
So, are
text,
many arrests being made?
maybe. Yeah, we're locking them up and working with the district attorney, Joe Early. He gave me the task force. So I have DEA, I have state police working with us. We work with them. We exchange information, but this isn't, Johnny the drug dealer that stands on the corner by himself and makes a few dollars. They're organized. So as much as we're following them, they have their own people following them, looking for us.
Does 495 itself create the major problem?
No, because we get them from, Providence, the trail used to be Providence, up to Woonsocket, through us, through Marlboro, over to Worcester, then it's Worcester back down. If I told you how many times I've had detectives up in Worcester, we knocked over a place in Worcester, big arrests. And it started here. We got onto them and we were into them. And then we involved the district attorney's people, the state police and the DEA. And that arrest, that culminated, that was a huge arrest. These people, they had individuals going out to major stores, the box stores, Target, Best Buy, all over New England, and cleaning them out. When I tell you thousands upon hundreds of thousands of dollars of merchandise for heroin, it's money. That one oxy that would cost you $100, you can get that same or higher hit in heroin for $15, $10.
Where is there help for someone who knows that maybe their son or daughter is on drugs? Is there help in the immediate area or?
It's really limited, sadly. We do a lot of Section 35s, which is just a statute that families can go into the court and order help for an individual that doesn't want it. They'll hold them for 30 days, and they'll send them down to Bridgewater, unless you have a private place to send them to. We work very closely with Spectrum. We do have the methadone clinic here, and I'll say, in the 13 years I've been here in Milford, we've had two calls to Spectrum. And one of them I generated. I happened to be, the lady was involved in a hit and run. She was going to get her methadone, and she's pulling in as I'm coming down the street. I saw it was her, and so I kind of generated that call. But we don't have issues there. They have great security. They're very open to deal with. The CEO, I probably talk to Chuck 4 or 5 times a year. He sends people out just to have a cup of coffee with me, make sure everything's okay. They run a real tight ship. I'll say this, but then you go to the other side of the equation. Most of our addicts, they go to Woonsocket. They won't even go up East Main Street because they tell us they can down in Woonsocket, and I'm not knocking them, that's their business. We'll talk to them. They say that they can go and get their methadone and then come out and score, meaning they can buy heroin. So you're not going to find that up here. They monitor it. They don't tolerate it. There's no staying on the property. So they run a very, very good operation in my view. They've been very open about their security procedures with us, but the heroin situation across the state, people go, well, is it in poorer communities? It's in every community, every. They're overdosing in Wellesley, they're overdosing in Weston, they're overdosing in Hopkinton. And when I say in Hopkinton, I'm talking people that are living in homes that are worth millions of dollars, and their kids are overdosing.
What's the police presence in the high school? Do you have a presence?
We have 2 police officers in the schools full-time.
Okay. Does that extend to the middle school as well?
Every school.
Oh, good.
So we have a police officer, John Tanner's at the high school every day,
Okay.
and he's there full-time. And then you have Joe Gresham, and Big Joe covers the middle schools,
Good.
the 2 middle schools. And then if something comes up, they share the elementary schools, and you do get some issues, whether it be domestics between parents and who has custody and who doesn't, who can take the child and all the rest of it. So they do a great job. They have a great relationship with all of the administrators. I meet regularly with Bob Tremblay. I think Bob's been phenomenal as far as being out there in the forefront. We're the first school in the nation to give school administrators and teachers that take kids out to recess police radios. They can talk directly to us. So when we bought new radios, we rehabbed our old one, all the old 25 of them, we gave them to all of the schools, so every administrator, and any teacher that takes kids out to a schoolyard, the Catholic school, the youth center, and the library. They talk directly to, there's something going on, they talk directly to
And
the
they
police
cover
dispatch.
all social issues, all issues including, not only just a drug issue, but security, violence.
We do everything in the schools,
Okay, how
anything.
about students that aren't from Milford?
That attend our schools?
Yeah.
Absolutely. And we have relationships, in fact, our kids that go to BBT. So same relationship in working with Kyle over there, the police officer that's assigned to BBT from Upton. We communicate all the time.
Because I was up at the high school the other day and Rhode Island plates are picking kids up. I thought that was kind of odd.
Other questions for the chief?
I have one more.
Let's go, right,
Sorry.
this gentleman right here.
Actually got two. You said that the state owns some of the streetlights. Do they own the one that 109 in Beaver Street where the Burger King is?
Yes.
They do. Is there any way for you to tell the state, you know, hey, it'd be better if you did the lights like a certain way? For example, when you're heading towards Medway,
Sequence, yeah, we've talked to them 1,000 times.
they won't do it.
It's a
We'll do it
mess.
6 months from now.
Feel free to give them a call. It's a district office in Worcester. It's sequence of lights drives you nuts.
And the other question I had was the new windshield light law.
Right.
I guess there's like what 20, 30 states in the country that do it. 28. I'm still trying to understand what the purpose of that law is supposed to do. I mean, I understand when it's really foggy out, turn the lights on and it's rainy, but if it's a little drizzly or the visibility is still good.
It's visibility, line of sight, that's the intent. And you know, it's too bad that they tagged on, I mean, it's a $5 fine, but it's surchargeable. So it's too bad that they made it a moving violation. You know, the legislature did that. We have
They
nothing to
actually
do with
were
it.
arguing that today, whether or not they were gonna change that.
Yeah, because
That
it's
was the
surchargeable
argument
right
today.
now, which is a heavy hit. I mean, the intent is to get people to be safe, you know, to operate in a safe fashion. And you know, my personal view, I think it's a heavy hit to make it surchargeable and then yet have a $5 fine.
Yeah, I think that part right there, the surcharge, is what seems to be the most aggravating part.
Right. I mean, frankly, they should have made it a $25 fine and not surchargeable. And you know, and most cops are going to give you a warning anyway and tell you, look, turn your lights on.
And I think that's something that the group could put out. I don't know if you did or didn't. To put out, you know, like, hey, the new law went into effect as of whatever, here it is, to let everyone know, because quite frankly, I don't know if anyone else got any kind of a notice from the state or.
It's been all over the news. We put it on our Facebook page, but you know, if you don't agree with the surchargeable thing,
Which lights are on your lights?
How do you know about it?
It's on the end.
We got a question back in the, back of the room.
Two parts to this, going back to the heroin situation. I think it's a subject that has been bubbling up over the last few years. And why is there a particular reason that it's become so endemic at this point? And two, what do we do in Milford? I know you can't address it, but you've got to address it somehow. What are we doing to prevent education, whatever we can do, to stop it? It's legal.
Well, I mean, you know, I've been a police officer for 38 years and I've dealt with heroin for 38 years. So,
But we weren't having all kinds of people in every single.
well, no, because in the issue that you face is one, it's more potent, and two, it's cheaper. When I worked in the city of Boston, my side of my career, I worked drugs in the housing projects, and then, if you remember the old stirrers McDonald's had, right? The reason they filled them in, because the dealers were using them, that's how they measured. So they would take this little scoop and put a razor blade across. And in my early days, that was $40 for that. Today, you'll get 4 or 5 times that for $15. Back then, what we call, they cut it or stepped on it, meaning they added things to it. Baking soda, rat poison, whatever. So the potency of the heroin, you know, you're around 40%, now it's 100%. I mean, it's, and the craziness of it, and I was talking to the district attorney the other day, you get someone that overdoses and dies, and you have the other junkies asking, hey, where'd you get it? I mean, okay.
I think they're also depending on the availability of Narcan. That if they take a bad hit, that they know the Narcan's available.
Yeah, but you know what? Narcan's good until you're dead.
Right.
And then they're not bringing you back. But I honestly don't think they think that far. They're thinking about for this moment. I mean, who's breaking into the homes? They are. You know, people say, oh, if someone ever breaks into my house at night, they're not breaking into your house at night. They don't want to deal with you. They want to take all your property. And they want to sell it. So that's who's breaking into your home. That's who's out in the middle of the night going through cars, checking them out. Either young kids who figure it's an easy score, or people that are addicted. And they're trying to score whatever they can for the next day. You know, if you need in a given day $80 to $100, and you work at a job that pays $300 a week, and you still have to eat, and you still have to do the other
Pay
things,
rent.
pay some rent, or even if you're living on a couch in a friend's place, you're paying them something. You have to find $700 a week.
The problem's been escalated by the narcotic use, and I mean the prescription narcotic use.
There's
It's
no
overly
question.
prescribed, we're overly
There's no
using it, and people pop it for pain that it wasn't designed for.
There's no question. I mean,
Doctor should.
I mean, I can cite for you a state trooper, young promising guy who was assigned to detectives in the Middlesex DA's office, hurt his back at home, off the job. Became addicted. He was robbing drugstores with his service weapon. He's in prison. He's in prison. And for a long stretch. So can it affect anybody. Anybody. I mean, the key is one, acknowledging that it's there. 2, providing advice. 3, yes, they have to ramp up the treatment. You know, thinking you're gonna take someone addicted to heroin and stick them somewhere for 30 days and then come back and, oh, you're clean.
Yeah.
Not happening.
That
Just
doesn't
not
even
happening.
happen with alcohol.
It's not happening. So, yeah, the insurance companies are fooling us, or we're fooling them. You know, and then it's availability. Because it's not all prescriptions. It's the younger people. We've had a 14-year-old girl overdose in one of our fast food restaurants. 14. Overdosing on heroin, and she was using. So it wasn't her first time. She's a user. She's an addict at 14. So, and that's not just here. So it's, you know, people opening their eyes and seeing the reality of things. If you have prescriptions in your home that you don't need, don't flush them down the toilet. They go into the water system. Through filtration, they're gonna end up in the water system. Because even the plant, it doesn't process that stuff out. Bring it down, we have a vault right in the lobby of the police station. You bring it in, drop it in, we don't ask questions. Feel free, drop it in. You know, if you have shops at home, you know, unless you're commercial, bring the shops down, we'll take your shops, we'll take care of it. Republic, our trash collector, they'll give you a shops container that you can mail back to them. So, we don't want needles, when I say shops, we don't want needles all over parks and parking lots and fast food restaurants where kids go. That's the other public health issue that we face.
Because they are.
Other questions for the chief? Back there, Peter.
You mentioned the dealers in town. How would you recognize, I mean, as a private resident, is there anything that would tip us off.
Yeah,
This
you know,
much.
Peter, and that's where we get it. It's, you know, people come in all different hours of the day, come, they stay for a very short period of time, leave. You know, that's one of the biggest telltale signs. And we tell people, do us a favor, if you can read them, grab license plate numbers. License plate numbers are very, very helpful because obviously we can run the owner, we can see what their history is, we can see if they've ever been charged, who they associated with, meaning who they were arrested with, whether they've ever had what we call an FIO, so police officers encounter them on the street and talk to them, and they're with others, who are they with, and what's their history. And you start to build your case. And you have to do that legwork. You know, people think, oh, I told them they're selling drugs here, and they're still doing it. They probably are. To get a search warrant, it's not simply we go up to the court and say, hey, I'd like one of those pieces of paper. You know, we have to show the magistrate, you know, or the judge that, you know, this is actually taking place. We have corroborated evidence. It's not the word of one person. It's not, you know, the observations one. So we have to actually go out and do it. A lot of times, then we'll set up and we'll go in and we'll buy, you know, or we knock them off as they come out, which takes, it's a big setup. It's not one or two officers that you're talking, you know, a dozen in an area, and you wait for them to come up because you want to get them far enough away. So then we have them, and you just roll the ball from there right back to that house and you're doing. But it's really, that's probably the biggest telltale sign, coming and going, or that individual is constantly coming and going. It's an indication that, you know, I mean, how many times can you go to 7-Eleven?
Other questions for the chief?
Two quick ones.
Go ahead, Mike.
Getting back to your point on cost, it's my understanding that a heroin habit now is less expensive than a cocaine habit. So heroin is becoming more and more the drug of preference.
It's, if someone's addicted, so if they have that addiction, there's no question, the cheapest drug on the market right now is heroin, without a question. You get it cheaper than I get prescriptions at CVS. I mean that, it's that cheap. So, and it's potent, that's the other side to it, is, and not the price, not only the price came down, the potency went up. And for them, I mean, it's business from the perspective of, you know, the heroin coming out of Colombia, it's an issue of creating a demand. Once I have you hooked, I have you. I mean, it's like gasoline, right? The price goes down a little, next thing you know, it skyrockets, so, because they have us.
And then just getting back to, I know there are a lot of questions on the traffic lights and whatever. Now that we can right turn on red coming out of South Main onto Main,
We did change that.
are there any plans to stripe the road for 2 lanes so people won't get nervous wanting to take a right-hand turn when someone in front of them wants to go straight?
You can't, like, because the width of that lane is not sufficient under the code. So the transportation code to create 2 lanes.
Then I'm curious as to why we removed the no turn on red.
It's because people.
9 times out of 10, there's cars at that light, some wanting to turn right, some wanting to go straight. And they know they can turn right because the sign is gone.
Right.
It says, but they can't get by because the car in front of them now is taking up the whole road.
Yeah, but there's two lanes there.
No.
There's actually one, it widens, but it's not wide enough to create 2 lanes.
2 legal
To
lanes.
meet the standards.
Yeah.
We can still take the sign down as we did the right turn off of Exchange Street onto Main Street. If someone's sitting there to go straight, then you have to wait. But before they did the lights, both of those were turns on red. And basically, everybody was doing it, and I thought it was gonna create a safety issue, so I recommended, I recommended to the board that they take the signs
It just seems to defeat the
down.
purpose of having a right turn on red if there's technically only 1 lane there.
I'll be honest with you, I think that the traffic there moves much better than it did with the sign, honestly. That's my observations, and before I made the decision, I stood out there but out of sight because people would recognize me not to the right on red against the sign. But I actually watched the traffic before I went to the board and said, you know, you ought to take that down because people were doing it.
I'm sorry,
I have one more.
George has got a question.
As the Citizens of Milford organization, are there things you would like this organization to help you get what you think you need even more? Or do you need more policemen? Do you need more equipment? Are there things that the citizens themselves can do to make a direct help to your job?
You know, I appreciate the offer, but I'll say to you, you know, over the years, and John was on the board at the time where we faced real tight financial times, around 2003, and I lost position. Since then, you know, we reorganized the department as far as how we manage it and supervise it, and you know, working with John and the other selectmen. And then we reorganized, rather than add police officers and firefighters, we took the dispatch center and civilianized the whole dispatch operation. And that placed a firefighter every single shift, every single day, out on the apparatus or the rescue truck. And it gave me a police officer. And that's how I created Main Street as a separate sector. So it's a police officer that patrols Main Street from the post office down to Sacred Heart. Every day there's an officer that's assigned that can park and walk and go in, talk to business people, and they do that. It put another officer on the street every single day. So we have 45 police officers, we have 9 dispatchers. The standard nationwide is 2 officers per 1,000. You know, we're about there. So you take 28,000 people, 56 people to, you know, perform services, whether it be in dispatch or on the street, and we're at 54. So I'm not uncomfortable with our staffing. I look at our staffing every year. We take the calls for service the year prior, and right now we run about 28,000 calls for service, and we break them down into half-hour increments across the 365 days, and we determine how many of those calls require 2 officers versus 1 officer, and that's how we build our staffing on each shift. And so we do that evaluation every year. We look at, you know, that and then when actual crimes, so we take our crime stats the same, we spread them, and that's how I make a determination where I want to put my resources. And we shift 1 or 2 here every year. So I think we're in good shape, personnel-wise, equipment-wise. This community's always been good to us. I'll say that. The officers have literally the best equipment around. I don't know any department in this area, and I mean in this state, and I've been a police chief 30 years, so I got a pretty good feel of police departments. We provide training to the maximum to our officers, far beyond what's required, and secondarily the equipment. And we utilize not only town funds. I mean, right now I'm replacing all of the tasers that we use. I'm replacing those. It's running about $65,000, and that's all money that we took from people that committed crimes. So it's not a dollar of tax money. We purchased for Rob Tassino. It took me 2 years to get Robbie's a paramedic, so it took me 2 years to get him certified, because the regulations required that you had to have a paramedic with an EMT or 2 paramedics. Well, he works on a car alone. So it took me 2 years, they changed the regs, certified him. He has in his cruiser everything that paramedic ambulance has, all the drugs, all the diagnostic equipment, defibrillator, you name it, with the exception of a stretcher. It's the only thing he doesn't have. So he's not gonna pack you up and take you to the hospital, he's gonna fix you there till.
And he's gonna carry you over his shoulder.
Probably will, but
He could do it.
he has saved, I mean, literally saved, at this point in time, 8 people we can document. He saved their lives in the time that he's been here. All of his equipment, his cruiser, everything was purchased with money that we took from people that sold drugs or violated federal laws, and we got forfeiture money. So we had a very large forfeiture, over $300,000. So we've utilized those funds. There's still a good chunk of them there. It's about $270,000. But we've utilized those for that purpose. You see the ATV vehicle we have? That, they bought that for us. Thank you very much for the gift. You know, people say, well, why do you need that? Because when you have to go into the woods, you know, someone gets hurt on a bicycle up, you know, the bicycle where they ride the mountain bikes. It's not fun carrying a 250-pound guy 3 miles out of a wooded area. It's just not fun. This way here, so we have the medevac on the back of it. We can take a backboard, put a paramedic ride beside him, put him on the backboard, snap him in, and we get him out of there quicker too. So as far as treatment. And so we've used those funds wisely. We can't supplant. We have to be very cautious. For instance, the finance committee cannot say to me, well, we're not giving you money for 3 cars this year, so you go use that money. That's illegal. I can't do that. But I can use it in target equipment that I've not gone to the board, I've not gone to town meeting for. But I'll say the finance committee, the board of selectmen, without a question, over the years, and town meeting have been very, very supportive of us. I think the needs that we've put before them were reasonable, and they've supported us, and we appreciate it. But we're in good shape. I'm very honest with you. I need a new boiler, but, because it's cracked, and they're going to shut me down for that. But, no, but you know, look, we received 20 years of service out of that boiler system. That's what we replaced. So you run into those things, like the roof and other things, but overall, I honestly, I think the department is in good shape. I think the department, their philosophy and mindset and how they deal with the community is right on target. I honestly believe that the people, I love going there every day, you know. I mean, I could have been gone 4 years ago and off in retirement. I actually go there every single day, and I enjoy going there. I like the people I work with. I think they provide a phenomenal service, and they're good people. But they're human beings too, and we all have our moments. But no, they're good people, and I love this community, and I do think that we make a difference in helping people. So that's where I come from on it. But I appreciate the support.
We were just chatting, and we wish we had 2 more hours with you, Chief. Because the way it's going, people.
Use them up if you need.
I know.
This has really been great. We are going to definitely have you back in the fall.
But I still have a question.
All right, well, make it quick though.
Do you have any police officers going to the schools, to the high school, talking about drugs?
We do, and actually, we work very closely with the sheriff. He has a program where he actually comes in, Lou Evangelitis, and if you've never seen it, if you see that he's doing it, go, even if you're not a student, you don't have students, you don't have grandkids there, go. It's phenomenal. He phenomenal, and that's why I said, as far as giving advice, Joe Early comes in and himself, personally, and does a distracted driver training, which is awesome. I mean, right on point. But the program that the sheriff does, Lou Evangelitis, and we've done it every year now at Milford High for the past 4 years, he's just, it's impacting. I mean, that's what the kids say, you know. But, you know, I don't want to beat up Nancy Reagan. You know, just say no just doesn't work. You know, I mean, how many times did you tell your kids, no, don't do that? And only an hour later you had to say to them, I told you, don't do that. Just saying no doesn't work. And when we found out from studies that the DARE program, which was off of that, it didn't have the effects that we wanted. You know, I think it's an issue in dealing with kids and respecting their level of intelligence, you know, based on their age, and giving them information and showing them that, look, that this is, it's this destructive. That this is how destructive it is. There's a young woman in town who, she and her mother are organizing a walk to raise monies to deal with the educational part of the opiate. They lost a brother, a son, who the father is was, well, he just retired, one of my sergeants was a police officer. So it impacts across the board, you know, and it's not, they're not good parents, it's not, it has nothing to do with that. It has to do with that individual and whether or not they have addictive capacities, and then whether or not they fell into addictive capacities because of introduction of different substances to them for legitimate reasons. You know, I've had my kids involved in car accidents and the doctors want to give them, oh, I'm going to give them oxy. No, you're not. You know, no. And I've had arguments with doctors. You know, I've had kids who, you know, have had surgeries as a result of sports injuries. You know, and I'm not concerned that one of my kids has that addictive, you know, capacity. I'm concerned because I'm a parent. I count those painkillers. You know, and some parents don't. It's, oh, okay, it's your prescription. You know, you're a big boy. You're a big girl. That's foolhardy. That's foolhardy. You know, follow the script. It says every 4 hours. It's every 4 hours. You know, you want to change it? Call the doctor. I mean, it's that serious. So, but if you ever have a question,
Do you have a way?
I'm here 24/7. You can just call the station.
Do you have a specific way that people could get
You can reach me at the station. Feel free. Give me a call anytime. That's the main number. I'm extension 611. I have 2 email addresses. I have milfordchief@aol.com. I have chief@milfordpolice.org. You write to me. I process probably 50 emails a day, so I'm happy to communicate.
If I could just add one more thing. Jenn, Kate Mastriani, and I had an opportunity to do a tour of the police station a while ago, about a year ago or so. It was fascinating, and I wonder if you do tours like that for people on a general basis. If you do, I'd encourage everybody here to go and sign up and do it.
If you want to organize something, I'm happy to do it. For the most part, I mean, we get the kids, so I get Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts that have to earn their badges, so we welcome them in, and I don't know, they get a kick out of the jail cells that can't flush the toilets. We flush all the toilets on one thing. But it's,
I think we got a kick out of that.
The adults don't change much.
when they send you a note thanking you, you know, that's the one thing they're fixated on. You're like, wow. And then, as you know, so you're welcome because, you know, most people don't see the inside of a police station. Right? I mean, when I was the chief in Wellesley and had to build a station, I was like, 90% of the population has never seen the inside of this building. You know, for a good reason. They're not a victim and they're not a suspect, so that's a good thing. So it's, you know, so we do welcome people, and we do, as you know, many of you may know, all of the different social groups or you know, PTOs and school groups, but any of the community groups that have auctions. So I do chief for the day. So the young kid can come and they spend the day. We pick them up at the house. They come spend the morning with me. We go ride in the cruiser. I buy them lunch, and it's a good day.
Because I'm pretty sure a lot of
Well, I always try to, you know, I usually get some of the parents that want to try. I think they're going to come, but they're welcome to come and take pictures. And then we actually do birthday parties. So that they auction that as well. So you can have a birthday party at the police station. We'll take pictures of the kids on motorcycles, in the jail cells, wherever you want to. Great for family photo album.
You mean live there? Big 6 hours, like see their cars?
We provide the cake and soda. So if you have any of those auctions, bid high.
Thank you, Chief. We appreciate it. You're certainly welcome to hang around, but we know you're busy. We hear all the alarms going off. Thank you, Chief. Thank you.
All right, good to see you all.
Thank you. Thank you.
Scott, you're on a hot seat now.
Scott, why don't you move down one, make it a little easier.
Scott, you saw how this works, right? In a brief moment, I'm burning to have people understand this. Could you explain in layperson's terms what it is that the EPA is putting on us for the Charles River that's gonna cost, $100 million?
That make it as simple as possible.
Yes, simple as
They have
possible.
this thing called phosphorus that's in our water. It comes from fertilizer mostly, it comes from car exhaust. What it does is it gets into the river and causes algae to grow. And with standing water is the algae chokes out the pond, kills the fish. That's the simplest way I can explain it to you.
Okay.
There's all kinds of different things that we have to do to control that phosphorus. And the biggest thing is infiltration into the ground of the stormwater. Meaning all your rainwater, when it runs into the ground, the phosphorus gets filtered out. And then it goes into the river, there's no phosphorus or less phosphorus. So the idea is to lower the amount of phosphorus in the river, as simple as that. The cost though is all the, call them BMPs, and those are the things that you put in, install to reduce the phosphorus
Best
level.
management practices.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, it's as simple as that, but you know, and there's all kinds of different angles and.
Politically, Milford and several other towns are singled out as a target for this thing?
Right, because we are on the Charles River and we're at the beginning of it, and maybe it's the actual beginning, and once you leave Milford, the water has a very high phosphorus level. And they picked us 3 towns as the guinea pigs on the first MS4 permit, which is the permit telling you what you need to do to reverse that, you know, the amount of phosphorus. We weren't sure why we're actually the targets on that. They used us as a guinea pig to set up the whole thing for the whole state. But that permit is now outdated, so there's a new permit which includes everybody. It's not just us 3 towns anymore, and that's the expensive permit that's coming.
So, just so I'm clear, so businesses like, let's say Target, they got a big parking lot that's, you know, impervious surface. What do they have to do to stop the phosphorus from rolling off of their property and into the water, as I understand? What is the law gonna require them to do?
Any non-pervious surface that goes over 2 acres, they have to install an infiltration system. Most likely in a situation with a big parking lot, it will be a septic system. All your drain water, not any storage, completely separate, but your drain water off the parking lot, off your roofs will have to go into the ground, similar to a septic system, and leach into the ground.
Right.
So that
they will have to.
businesses would have to retrofit
Absolutely.
their parking lots.
So it's the phosphorus mostly from, as you say, from the fertilizers.
Yeah.
For the people's lawns or what have you. So, okay, so there's no way to just stop the fertilizers from having phosphorus in it in the first place? Can't they just ban? Wouldn't that be the easiest way to do it?
Absolutely.
Okay,
It's
well, let's
it's
explore
not
that. So-
happening, and I'm unsure why it's not happening.
Because instead of having every business and every town and every municipality retrofit all these things, if you stop the actual source of the problem,
That's a major source. It's not the only source, unfortunately.
but it's the major source. So
It is a major source, and I actually had John Fernandez on my show, my Milford TV show, All Politics is Local, and he said that he's looking to get those fertilizers reformulated, to require fertilizer manufacturers to reformulate fertilizers with less phosphorus, for that very reason. So that they are looking at that in the legislature as one way to try and deal with this problem.
Yeah, there are fertilizers out there as we speak that are either low phosphorus or phosphorus-free. Problem is, they're a little more expensive and people don't buy them.
Yeah, I mean, the second permit, which is the expensive one, is been in its comment period for a few years now, because they keep changing. Once every town and state is giving their comments, and, you know, they gives them time to think about it, look at what they're doing and what it's costing, and you know, our ideas, what we want to do, and they keep changing it, and, you know, it's getting better and better, and maybe a little less money, but it's not gonna not come, it's coming.
What if we don't do it? They're gonna throw the town in jail?
There are fines, and I don't know what those fines are, because no one's.
Are they
Not
fines are cheaper than,
They could be.
I mean, that's what businesses look at, you know?
No, I don't know what the fines are, they don't tell you, but I don't wanna know.
look, Steve wants to talk about phosphorus, but everybody out here wants to talk about potholes, right? Everybody wants to talk. What's going on with the potholes, Scotty?
You may not believe what I have to say, but it's not a bad pothole year. It's really not.
Yeah, year before
20
last
years
was
I've been
worse.
doing this.
Yeah.
This is an
It's not that
average
bad.
pothole year. Last year was the worst I ever saw. Last year was unbelievable. We had freeze thaw, and when that happens, you get the potholes.
This winter just never unfroze.
Yeah, it was freeze.
Well,
Yeah.
it
Is that
did,
based on
very
number or
slowly,
depth?
which is actually good. What's that?
What,
Number of potholes or depth, because I gotta tell you.
It's the amount of complaints, honestly.
So
That's
you
all.
guys out there
Oh,
now?
And then you
Let
add
me
that
sorry.
to- well, no, but then you add, that's always, what's by the number of potholes, so. But we had last year we had a lot of flat tires, broken wheels, suspension, a lot of calls, a lot of people trying to recoup the money. And not even, this year hasn't been close, honestly.
Right. But you got crews out there already starting,
Oh, yeah.
filling them out?
We've had crews out since, beginning of March. Whenever we can, the weather permitting. If it's ice cold, everything's frozen, we do a quick fix patch, cold patch it's
have
called.
you actually seen a check from the governor? This is 112,000 you were supposed to?
Well, we don't actually get the check, but we just doing reimbursements as
We
we.
send them a bill?
Yeah. Well, we got $122,000 for pothole repair. They call it pothole repair. It's anything to do with road maintenance, really. So we do, last year, we got the same thing, and one of our major issues was a lot of guardrail wiped out
Yeah.
with no accident reports, no way to recoup the money from an insurance company. And a lot of them happened a few years back, and we just never really got around to fix them. And so last year, we went around and fixed them all. We had that money, they were gonna pay for it. And every single one of them got wiped out again this winter. Every single one of them. And no one stopped when they hit it. They took off, left the scene. So we got no insurance money, so I'll be paying for it again out of that money.
What about the liability of the town when the plows hit and destroy personal property like mailboxes, fences?
Well, we have a mailbox policy. Years ago, we used to go out and fix them. It's just, we're not staffed to do that.
Yeah.
That's the biggest problem. And then all of a sudden, we started seeing granite mailboxes. And the bracket on a granite mailbox is $400. And it's not ideal for this climate, it's not good in the snow. That's the first thing I'll tell you, they don't last. So, we break the same ones year after year, and we don't wanna keep spending $400 on them. It's not right, it's just not. Those mailboxes, no one likes to hear this, but they are on town property, they're on the layout of the road. I know they have to be there, but it came to the point where we just couldn't afford it, and we couldn't keep up with it.
But isn't there a bylaw that, if you put your mailbox out in the middle of the street, so it hangs over the street, I would think the town says, sorry, we're not gonna pay for that. But if you
Well,
move your
right.
mailbox back,
If you move it way back, well, what'll happen is you won't get your mail.
well, they do deliver mail to people who still have mailboxes on their house on Purchase Street.
Certain
I've seen
routes,
them,
they have
walk
walking
them up
routes,
and,
But the mailman, if he can't reach outside his truck and reach your mailbox, he's not gonna give you a mail.
yeah.
It's always been a problem. So what we do now with our mailbox policy is we will give you a check for $35 if you feel we broke your mailbox. That's enough money, and we check every year to buy a wooden, pressure treated post and a regular basic mailbox. That's the best we can do, because some of those granite mailboxes are $800-900. We just couldn't do it anymore.
So I know each year you have new streets where you repave, you have a sort of a schedule. So what's the plan for this year in Milford?
They're not doing Debbie Lane, John.
No, they did Debbie Lane. It does need a few touch-ups, by the way.
We'll talk about Debbie Lane in a minute, that's a different thing that we did there. We have a plan every year. I stockpile the roads and all the complaints, and we check roads, and whatever we gotta do to make sure we can do the road. You can't just jump in and do a road. There's a lot of things we have to look at. There's utilities that always need to be worked on. And you hate to rebuild the road and have the gas company come in a year later and say, we gotta do the gas main. We try not to do that. And also you have new gas services have been a big issue the last few years. We put a new road in and everybody wants a new gas service after we just did the road. I really have a hard time telling any resident, no, you can't put a gas service in, because I understand the cost of oil compared to gas. But I still hate to break that new road open. It's like, breaking the seal on a new road. So for the most part, we do let that happen, but the repair on those roads it's a little more expensive. We use a thing called flow fill, which doesn't sink. They have to seal the asphalt, they infrared it, they lock it in, they seal it with all kinds of different materials. So we don't have a problem with it. Back to the road list, I have a list this summer, that I got 18 roads that I'm looking to do. Whether we get to them all, we don't know. We hope our chapter 90 money is what it is every year, and we don't know that till July 1st. I don't know what my bids are until end of May is when we open up all our bids, so we know what we're paying for roads. So at that point, then I start pricing out the roads and see which ones we can fit into the puzzle, basically. And anything that's on our list this year that doesn't get done, will get done the following year. As simple as that.
What about sidewalks? Do you guys have a schedule for sidewalks or?
Well, handicap ramps, we have to do so many a year, so that's always a big thing. That's a big expense. They're very expensive. It's $3,000 every time we do one ramp.
Wow.
Yeah, it's very expensive. You're dealing with granite and concrete and sloping. Just that yellow panel you see on ramps is $200. So that's a huge part of our sidewalk plan. I have plans to do certain sidewalks in town, and the problem is, if you take a concrete sidewalk with granite curb, and you want to replace it because it's in rough shape, you have to figure out that the cost to replace a sidewalk in a granite curb is tremendously expensive. You could spend, I'll give you an example, from Pete's Market on Purchase Street to, we'll say, School Street. I mean, that's about $550,000 to replace that sidewalk.
Wow.
So that's half our budget as far as road repair. So, that's the reason we don't do a lot of sidewalk. What we do is try to do sections, small section here, small section there. In some roads, like we're doing Lee Street over this year, it's a concrete sidewalk and it's deteriorated. The sidewalk will come out, we'll put an asphalt sidewalk back. And you save a lot of money by doing that, and you still have a sidewalk. So we change it around every year, we just mix and match.
Scott, a couple of years ago, in the downtown area, you painted very nicely the crosswalks and some walkways, and really spruced it up, and it looked good. And of course now it's sort of faded. Is that something that you're going to be you're going to maybe touch up this year?
We tried, if you notice the brick, looks like a brick stamp.
Yeah.
We tried that. Honestly, go look at it. I'm not happy with it. It will be coming out. The company will be coming back and repairing it. It should last more than a year, not even a year. So you may not see that process again.
Okay.
You may see something different, similar.
But what about the crosswalks? Painting them, will that happen?
I was painting them yellow for a while, but what you find is they're very slippery.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, you walk on those in the rain, you gotta be careful. If you drive on in a car, you'll know you'll spin your tires on them. So that's why I went to that brick stamp look. It's good traction, easy to walk on. But like I said, I'm not happy with the outcome over the winter. Absolutely not happy with them. So.
Is there any way to coordinate streetlights and crosswalks? Some of them are a little dark.
I'm not really in charge of streetlights, but I mean, that's a selectman thing.
Someday, maybe.
I mean, yeah, if you feel this dark spot in the crosswalk, busy crosswalk, I would definitely, send a letter to the selectman, absolutely. They ask us about it, and I'll give them my, my opinion on it, so.
How do we do with the snow removal budget this year? We go over budget?
How many times?
By what fold?
We basically had one whole winter of 5 weeks. I've never seen anything like that. It was overwhelming, and we kept up to it. The guys
did a great job, I gotta tell you.
They worked mega hours. I mean, you don't understand the hours these guys. It was 100 to 120 hours a week, nonstop sometimes. Yeah, it was very tough, and I give my guys a lot of credit for keeping up with that.
They cleared the roads, they came back through with that snow blower and widened them out and stuff.
Well,
They did
we're very
great.
lucky. We do have very good equipment. That's one thing we have, and that helps us tremendously.
Yeah.
I mean, we didn't have that much snow in Blizzard 78.
Yeah.
And look how we were stuck.
What percentage of the snow removal budget is private contractors versus town people?
It's about a quarter of the budget.
The private?
If you stay within our $500,000 budget, once you get over that, everything gets out of control. What we didn't spend a lot on this year was salt, because we couldn't get any. There's really serious issues with salt last couple of years, and it's not it's not so much the supply, well, in a situation like this year, it's definitely the supply because they couldn't get it fast enough. And then there's another issue from trucking, they can't get trucks to haul salt. You cannot, I don't think I had an actual salt delivery between, the first storm, it was late January, till, I have never had one since late January. We had to go pick it up ourselves, or I had to hire trucks to go pick it up, and that gets very expensive, because they could not deliver it. You could get one load a day, that's not gonna get us, you know, a quarter of the town done. So, that's an issue that in the future we have to deal with that somehow. It's definitely out of control. With the salt usage in every town, most towns have gone away from sand completely and they use straight salt. And I haven't done that because, if anything, the salt makes you use less sand. The sand makes you use less salt, I should say. If you have a truckload of 50-50 mix, you're only using 50% salt. If you go with a full load of salt, you're putting all salt out. You know, the melting capacity of the salt is the same either way. It still works the same.
So are you making a higher budget request next time?
No, I don't really control that. The selectmen control that, and I've heard talk that they want to bring it up another 100,000 to 600,000. The problem with that is once you bring it to that 600,000, you cannot ever lower that. That's why we've never done that. You keep it at 500, just make sure you can cover it if you overspend it. But it has to stay at 500 or over. We can't go below that.
Good question down here?
Yeah, Scott, you said you had, looking at 18 roads to potentially work on this year. What's that in relation to? What's the backlog of roads that you have on your list in the queue? And you picked 18, is it?
Well, from last year, we have 3 roads that I didn't get to. So the rest of them are all ones that run our whole list, our major list, I should say.
Yeah, how big is that major list, I guess?
It's probably about 25 roads.
25?
Yeah, I mean, there's roads on there like Main Street from Water to Hopedale. I mean, that's terrible. We know that's terrible. But I've also tried to put that on the tip and get the state to pay for that road. That's a $5 million project. We can't pay for that. I can go in there and fix the road real quick, but I'm not gonna be able to fix the sidewalks. And they're not handicap accessible.
The point of my question was, you have a master list of roads, and you work on them as the budget allows and the severity of the condition of roads. But is the backlog growing while you're chipping away at the end, or are you keeping pace with what you think should be done?
We're keeping pace.
Okay.
I always, like right now that I'm doing my final list for the summer, I feel like we're getting ahead.
Yeah.
And I drive down another street. You know what I mean? And then a road that was good 5 years ago is completely gone now. So we keep up with it. I don't ever see us doing them all. I mean, that's not gonna happen. Although we have got all our chapter 90 released, and that hasn't happened in the 7 years I've been highway surveying. It has not happened. So we got an extra 400,000 this year, which is a bonus.
So you're not concerned that the backlog is growing faster than you can keep up?
No. No, when you're talking about roads, when you see a road that's cracked and we crack seal it, that doesn't mean it's ready for pavement. There's other things you can do to that road to make it last another 10 or 15 years. But the idea is keep the water from going into the asphalt and cracking it up and causing potholes. So you want to maintain roads. You don't want to rebuild roads. You want to get to the point where just maintaining. You don't. If you got to rebuild every road, it's 10 times the cost. But if you can keep a road in good shape and do surface treatments, and there's numerous surface treatments. We've tried a few different ones. Some I like, some I don't like. But you want to be maintaining, not rebuilding. That's the goal. You know, if you get a road that has good thickness, good base, it's not frost heaving, you want to keep that road drivable and smooth as long as you can before you actually have to rebuild. And you can do that for 30 years, 35 years in certain situations.
Let me ask you this question, Scott. The town of Milford is thinking about purchasing the water company. That obviously is going to affect your job because the water company periodically goes in and has to rip up the roads and put pipes in and so forth. So is that something, from your point of view, you would support, the purchase of the water company? And would it change your role? Would it expand your role?
Right now I'm just a highway surveyor in charge of the highway department. I think if that was to happen, you would have to see a DPW in town. I think that would be the
So you got the
best
sewer, water, and highway,
combined.
because, explain, why not keep it separate?
Well, utilize all the employees you can. I mean, you're gonna have employees in all divisions. Right now, we don't use sewer department employees. We use parks in the wintertime just for snow plowing, but we don't use, any other department for anything. In the wintertime, I'd like to be able to use water department equipment, water department employees to help us do our job, and vice versa. They need to dig a hole, outside my back to dig a hole, and work together as one large department.
So you see an advantage to a DPW approach?
I do, but I don't see it happening without, hiring a few more employees, I guess I wanna say.
Right. Well, if we took over the water company,
Right.
we've got the sewer company, we've got yours and the park, some of the park, I mean, all of that could be rolled into one in a consolidated, efficient
Absolutely.
type of approach.
Right, and there's grant money you can get for buying equipment and certain things if you're combined. We are not combined. And I'm just starting to find this out now. I know, the director in Wellesley, and I have a lot of conversations about this stuff. And they're a huge DPW. When they buy equipment, they can buy it as a combined unit, and you get grant money and money given to you from the state for that. We don't have that advantage.
Right. So it's a great question, Reno. I mean, we've got the sewer commissioners are all separately elected.
Yep.
The highway surveyor, he's separately elected. So it seems to me this consolidation would require more than just would it be just a simple town meeting vote? Or would there have to be some kind of other vote or other considerations?
Well, I think the town meeting would have to approve it, but the finance committee has studied that several times over the years, and I think the conclusion was financially it's not saving us any money.
But did they include the water company
Oh,
in
no,
the mix? That's the key.
Yeah, the water
change.
company is,
That's the key
a very
change.
big separate issue of assuming control of the private water company at this point. I mean, that's a big expense. Can we purchase it and keep the rates okay and still pay for it? That's a big financial decision that has to be made.
But
Not only,
But having this discussion, it appears that this whole concept of if we do purchase the water company, this consolidation makes sense as to be part and parcel.
intuitively it does, but somebody's gotta run the numbers and see if it really does.
True enough.
Well, when you own the water company and they know what their schedule is as far as what water main's gotta be done, what services need to be changed, and we can work together to get those projects done as one unit.
Yep.
Rather than I do a road and then the water company comes in and makes a mess of it, or there's no communication there. I wanna do Exchange Street over in Norris Way. I've wanted to for a few years, but there's a water main that has to go in there.
Mhm.
I just can't do it until they do the water main. It's holding me up, and that's been 5 years now.
Yeah.
But I understand that the water company has, a budget also, and they have to do certain projects before other projects.
Yeah, they've got priorities and an
Exactly.
antiquated system to keep up with as well.
Right, they're only concerned about their water. They're
Well,
not concerned about the road.
Right.
I think if we're combining in one unit, yes, you have one director running the whole show who has to be concerned about the whole picture. So I think I think in the long run, it's very good, but it's an expensive startup, I think.
Yeah, it is, and it's a major change, because the sewer department has sort of operated in their own separate world. As I said, they're separately elected, but your sense is they would have to be brought in under
They
this
actually
umbrella.
operate as an enterprise.
Yeah, they're a separate enterprise, but they're separately
And the water
elected.
company could operate as a separate enterprise too, and there's some value in that too.
Yes, but the downside, I mean, to me, it makes more sense to consolidate it under a unified, because the sewer, they come in and they rip up the road, and the water company could come in a few months later and rip up the road, and it's not coordinated with the guy that's in charge of the roads. I mean, it makes a lot more sense to bring it all under one umbrella where it's coordinated.
Do you know
At
the
least-
DPW guy is an elected guy in Wellesley, or is he
No,
appointed?
it's appointed.
He's appointed.
There's
Total take-
7 of us left, that's it,
Right.
throughout the state.
Other question I have, are there roads in Milford that you can't touch at all because they're quote state roads?
Yes.
Like.
Route
particularly
140?
140, you can't, that's why that
We don't
pothole's been
touch
up
that.
there for like a
16
month and a half.
No, Route 16 from Route 109 to Holliston, town line.
Yeah, but you plow those, right?
No, we don't plow 140, and we don't plow that section of
So
Route 16.
so the state comes in? So you have to wait for the state on their own time schedule to plow
That section, yeah, that's this, they own it.
from where the hospital to where?
That's where I get my
Route 140 is from,
From Bellingham?
well,
Town line to
Hopedale
town
Yeah, from Hopedale
to
to.
Hopedale.
Yeah,
What about Route 85?
Route 85, we manage that. Yeah.
Town manager said.
Yeah, I don't know how that came about or why, and why we do 16 from 109 to Oakdale. You know, whatever happened way back, we own it.
And then 16 from 109 to Holliston,
Yes.
you own that too?
No.
No, that's the state?
Yep.
Just Main Street is,
Main Street we got it.
yeah.
I mean, 140's a mess some places.
Yeah, they come in, they did a little paving there a couple of years ago, but we got a ton of complaints.
Yeah.
You know, I can't just go over there and patch holes either, I'm not supposed to. It's not our jurisdiction.
So what do people do that have complaints about that? Who, I mean, do you refer them to someone?
You should call Mass DOT District 3. You can call us, though, we pass it on, we'll tell them. But it's better when they hear from the public than us, they don't listen to us.
Right, otherwise they're going to assume it's you guys not
Yeah.
doing your job.
Well, this has always been the big question, right in this middle of Route 16 and 140 at the hospital, there's a manhole.
Yeah.
And there's holes around it. Whose is it? Is it theirs or is it ours? When it gets bad enough, we'll patch it.
You know that,
But we
that's a
assume
bad
it's there.
intersection across from Honeydew.
Yeah.
That's a bad, there's a bad series of potholes there.
Mhm.
Been there forever.
That whole triangle is the state's.
Oh, yeah, okay, that explains why
Yeah.
with that street.
And I actually paved some of that last year because it was getting bad and they weren't
Yeah.
gonna do it, so I did it. But it had to be done.
Do they communicate with you at all?
No.
There was a crater on South Main, where South Main splits off from 140. There was an absolute crater there for a couple of weeks. I
Oh,
see
yeah.
that's patched. Good job. It was right out in front of the Milford TV cable studios.
Yeah.
So,
If it gets really out of control, we'll do it because we're gonna get the call anyway, so we'll just do it.
yeah, there was an
we'll still
absolute
report
crater
it to
there.
them, but.
Scott, is there anywhere on Main Street under the asphalt where there's still concrete paving?
Yeah, pretty much from the hospital to, somewhere past Sacred Heart Church. It's all concrete.
Even through the immediate central downtown area?
Yeah, there's like 6 to 8 inches of concrete under the road.
Still under there. I thought at one time, in my mind, I thought we ripped all that out.
No, still there.
Still there.
Yeah, it's a tough thing to deal with when you gotta dig a trench there, it's hard. You got a lot of work, you gotta cut and jackhammer and then you gotta put it back. Cause if you don't put the concrete back, the road's gonna start settling different.
Oh, yeah.
So you actually have to pull the concrete back.
So it's not a good thing.
No, it's in the way. I'd like to see it all taken off, but that's not gonna happen.
Is that what happened on my road, when the sewer department made a deal with it Wildwood or Waldenwood to do a section?
Where was that?
On School Street. They did a 20-foot section of the sewer pipe,
Oh,
they
yeah,
ripped
that was,
everything out, they took 2.5 weeks,
Mm.
made a mess.
They're gonna be fixing that.
Hit about 7 or 8 gas lines,
Yeah,
almost
they
blew
made
a
a
few
mess.
houses.
And you know,
And it's now, and it's the second time they've patched it, and it's now a full inch below.
See, that's another thing about not being the same department. That was a sewer department project. Now look at the mess there. Now I gotta try to get it fixed. I gotta chase it down around to fix it. You know, it's just, it's not working together.
Right, it's not, you got sewer, water, and highway, but the gas company is this, totally separate. They can come in and say, oh, I wanna put a gas line on the street you just
Yeah.
fixed. So
You know,
they're sort of operating on their own
The
schedule, right?
gas company's very tough. Every year we gotta sit down and have a meeting and I lay out the rules, what I want done for every trench. And they do it for the season, and by the end of the season they forget. And then the following year, you gotta start all over again, and it's a disaster. So I actually, bigger jobs, anything over 100 feet, they will do the work they need to do. They will pave it, the thickness, and everything we want, but that will be revisited in 6 months. They'll regrind the whole thing and repave the whole thing. That's how I have it now with them, and they are doing that. So you'll see trenches that look bad for a while. I'll give you one example was Depot Street. Depot Street, they did 2,000-3,000 feet of trenching. And it was bad for about a year, and they came back in after that and did a whole lane, and it's beautiful now.
This is the gas company.
Gas company, yeah.
Right. So what about National Grid, the electric company or the cable company?
They don't do a lot of digging, so.
No, I mean, they do some underground,
Yeah.
for new roads, they wanna bury the electric wiring,
Yeah,
right?
we don't allow that in town here anymore. We had a few subdivisions they did it in, but it's a headache.
It
So
is?
We don't allow that, yeah.
Okay, I thought it was an improvement where you didn't have the.
Well, you get visually, maybe, you know.
No,
aesthetics,
trees down on the lines, that kind of.
Yeah, and you get that, but what happens is, every so many years, those lines gotta be changed, they gotta dig the road up, they gotta dig the sidewalks up, everyone's yards gotta be done. And it's happened in a few different spots, they've had to do that over the years.
So now we ban that practice in Milford? Okay.
You also had dig safe issues when you had a bunch of waters.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Do you
Scott,
remember?
when I converted to gas this past year,
Yeah.
and when I called the gas company, they told me if my road had been repaved in the last 5 years, they would not dig it up. Now,
Well,
I
we
told
have a
them,
5-year moratorium.
I told them that I had a probably 40-year buffer on that 5 years.
We have a 5-year moratorium, but like I said, I understand the oil prices, I understand if you can convert the gas and save yourself a ton of money, who am I to stop you? So long as that road is dug up and put back together correctly, I never say no. But they know there's a 5-year moratorium, they know that. So that means they have to come to me and we have to discuss it before they do it. I gotta lay down the rules, this is what I want, you know. I may delay it a year if the road is brand new, I may try to delay you at least a year and let the asphalt set.
In my situation, the gas line of the street was on my side of the street, so
Mhm.
that prevented them from having to trench across the street.
Yeah,
So basically, there was just a hole right at the curb line.
right. Yeah, that's what I mean,
And
we'll
that
go
was
over
it.
what they have to do and then, you know, we decide. And like I said, for the most part, I let them do it, as long as it's done correctly. You know, you know that if you have a brand new road, you drive home every day from work and you have a brand new road, the next day is a trench and every day you're going over a bump for the rest of your life, because it's gonna be there forever, you know, that's irritating, and I understand
Well, I
that.
gotta tell you, aside from the hole in the road, that was the only excavation they did from the street. They then, you know, torpedoed the gas line underground.
Mhm.
When they left at the end of the day, you would not even know they were there, except for the gas line of the house coming
Right.
out.
Right, that's another thing that they do that, they send the bullet through the ground.
Go through the ground, yeah.
See, this is the gas company, they will do that without my permission, and I don't allow that, because if we didn't mark out a drain line, they can put that thing right through the drain line, so all of a sudden you have a gas line running right through the drain line, you can't have that. But they will try to sneak that by, and we have to stay on top of them with that stuff. We catch them using a bullet without our permission, they immediately gotta stop and the
Well,
job
I
stops.
mean, they used it from the street
Yeah.
on my property, you know,
Yeah.
100 feet or so into the house.
Right, but they do it across the road sometimes without permission. In the past, we didn't allow it, but I'd rather have that done, as long as it's done correctly,
Yeah.
than dig up the road.
I've worked in some towns where they won't let you trench across the road, it has to be
Yeah.
floated under the ground.
Sometimes it's just not something you can do because of the drain lines or whatever, so.
I have two more questions. Can you explain to me what your role, if any, is and what the nature of the Godfrey Brook project is?
Yeah, well, I'm kinda in charge of the brook streams, dams, and everything else in town like that, but the brook is a privately owned brook. The residents that live on it own it, but all our drainage is tied into it. So we kinda are responsible for maintaining it if we're using it. In fact, I was at a meeting today at the State House with Senator Fatman about getting bond money to do some more work on it. You know, we're trying to get whatever money we can to get that thing completely finished and not have to deal with it anymore.
Okay, now the other question I read in the paper a month or 2 months ago, that there's an ongoing problem with the illegal drains from houses into the sewage system. What are we doing about that?
Well, the sewer department's been dealing with that. They've been putting in some pumps for people and rerouting them into the drainage system.
The town has been allowing these people to sump pump their houses into our town-owned.
It's not allowed. People have been doing it. It's
Yeah.
not
Into the sewer, it's not allowed, no.
People have been doing it for
Yeah.
years and years and years.
Yeah,
but
but
as
it-
soon as-
Well, I mean, you know, you have a sump pump and there's a sewer line sitting right here in your basement, you know, you can just tie right into it. A lot of people do that, rather than spend the money and try to get it out of the house and in the yard, you know, there's way more than we probably know about. But the sewer department offers, you know, a chance to fix that for you know,
I
free of
believe they will
charge.
do it free of charge, too.
Yes.
There's no raw sewage going into our, I'm confused, I guess.
No, it's
No,
the other way
it's
around.
It's groundwater.
Putting
Pumping
water.
groundwater out of your
You
basement
get a
into the sewer
basin full
system.
of water from a storm,
Yes,
and you want to emergency pump that out somewhere. I
Yeah.
guess that's all right, but
yes.
there's no way, well, he made a comment about people that are hooking up to their own sewer line.
Well,
Well, that's,
No,
the-
Well,
they're-
yeah, that's
If
a
they
legal.
pump,
Yeah.
They
Drain
take
water
it from-
into the sewer.
Yeah.
They put in a French drain so that so the groundwater doesn't come up into the basement.
but as
And
far
then
as
they
we
pump
know,
that
there are
into
no
the sewer.
people who are illegally pumping sewage
no,
from their homes.
no, it's
No.
not sewage.
The other way
Yeah,
around.
that's the other way around.
It's groundwater.
It's groundwater going into the
If you were
sewer.
pumping sewage into the drainage system, we would've caught you with the whole stormwater project, because we have to find that stuff. We found a lot of them in town, but we don't have any more of that right now that we know about.
So that,
But there was a time that
There
that
was a
was
few,
an
yes.
issue,
Well,
yes.
years ago, the drain and the sewer were tied together, it was
Yeah.
common.
And there's no incentive to do that. Your sewer bill is based on your water usage, not on your sewer usage. There's no meter on your sewage.
I don't know. I'm a septic
People
system,
don't
so
know.
I know. My stuff, I know where my stuff goes.
Grass is always greener.
Okay, I was just, that was another thing, I said, well.
So no phosphorus on that spectrum.
We have time for Scotty, just one more question. Anybody else? Oh, we've got somebody in the back.
Hi, Scott.
Hi.
What are we gonna do about weeds this summer?
What's that?
What are we gonna do about the weeds this summer?
Where, on the sidewalks?
Oh, everywhere.
Yeah.
Well,
See, we
you
don't,
and I are gonna be very busy,
Yeah.
is what we're gonna do.
neither my department or the Parks Department have a license to spread any kind of insect control or weed control. Because it would be very easy just to go out there and spray them. In the past, Sue Clark, when she had her other job, she was raising money to get that stuff sprayed. She's obviously no longer there. We don't have that department anymore. So I think last year the Parks Department handled it. They had someone come in and just do Main Street.
Yeah.
And I assume they're gonna do the same thing this year. We've gone out weed whacked them, but that's good for about a week. Yeah, that works for me. Yeah, and it makes a mess.
You can't get licensed for that?
Someone has to be licensed. I mean, I could get licensed for it if one of my employees wants to go and start spraying weeds, but that becomes a union thing. But yes, I would like to see that happen in the future.
Yes.
I've talked about that with Mike, either him or me getting licensed for that, and it's not a big deal to do it.
Right.
You know, as long as we're licensed, somebody can do it.
Well, if there's a line item in the budget, you can hire somebody. Somebody's gotta pay for it.
Right, but it's expensive.
It all comes out.
And you gotta do it a couple times a year. You can't just do it once.
No, I know. It's like anything else. You know, maintenance costs money.
Yeah.
You gotta pay for it. Either you gotta hire another employee, you gotta hire a private contractor to do it, but someone's gotta put a line item in the budget to do it, or it won't get done.
When you say expensive, how expensive?
I'm not even sure. I just know that I've been told it's very expensive. Every time they do it, it's a huge cost. Thousands of dollars.
They look awful.
I agree. I totally agree.
Well, anyway, Scott, you did a great job around my corner.
Yeah.
I expected the worst when I came
You know,
back.
Peter, I drove by and checked it out the other day.
Well, I think
I don't even think a rock moved out of place.
we think you've done a great job, Scotty, and hopefully
Thank you.
everybody in the audience, let's give him a big round of applause. Maybe we'll have you back at the leaf season in the fall.
Right in the middle of all that snow.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for coming.
All right, well, thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, are there new flags? Got it, yes, there.
Okay, Scotty, thank you.
That's a client, how to get them in.
Yellow banner, the budget banner, the seal is in for 4 weeks.
And I think that's gonna adjourn the meeting, Steve.
That should do it.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I guess there's like a
Yes,
whole
we do.
We have one item left.
There's like a oh, is that, it was your
Jan
turn?
gets to talk about the farmer's market.
Oh, good, do I get to come sit here?
You
I'll go back over there.
You certainly can.
You gonna question me or am I? I'll have my own.
Why don't you just give us a quick summary and then we can.
Synopsis.
Look at the synopsis. All right, so, for the last 2 years, the farmer's market has been trying to get to a location that's, more accessible and appropriate for our market or any farmer's market that comes to town. So for the last 2 years, Rick Villani, Larry Duncan, the planning board, and our board has been going back and forth. We're at the point where we actually have planning board support and sponsorship for an article that will put us in front of town meeting come May 18th. It's not exactly what we wanted, but it is something that at least gets us to a central location come 2016, because this year we will be at the water company because of timing issues. We can't even get our special permit until October of 2015 to move, so we're gonna need as much support at town meeting as we can possibly muster, because we do have to have a 2/3 approval in order to change a zoning bylaw.
And where will you be?
If we can get approval and special permit through planning board and special permit through, or approval through the school committee, we are hoping to locate over here at Stacy or behind it at Memorial, or in this little teeny tiny plot of land that's actually Parks Department and part of Town Park.
Not on Town Park.
No.
Sort of in between, behind Stacy and behind Memorial.
We're either gonna be at Stacy in the front, at Memorial in the front, or next to Memorial in a plot about that big.
Oh, the new parking lot.
Between the basketball courts and Memorial's walkway.
Okay.
There's a little plot that's actually town-owned versus.
Is that a paved area you're talking
No.
about?
It's all grass.
There's grass over here, both in the bus loop, and in addition, in front of Stacy, there's a very, I mean, when you walk out the building, you're gonna be looking at it.
Gee, the bus loop would be a nice
Bus loop would be
location. It's
fantastic,
not-
there's tons of parking, both behind Memorial and Stacy, there's, the benefit is, and the reason that we're doing it, or we're trying to do it here, is that the library is closed on Saturdays in the summer, so we're not creating additional traffic, we're simply taking over.
Highly visible too.
Very visible on a main, I mean, you're on all the main roads, you're off of Perch, you're off of Congress, you're off the Main Street, it's right downtown, there, you know, will be, there's, I mean, what else could we ask for? It's got grass, I'll be a wonderfully happy person. So, but we needed support at town meeting, so if you have town meeting members, would you please give him a call? We would appreciate it.
How exhaustive have you been in trying to search for a more, even this location sounds like it's not permanent to me.
I would really hope it's permanent.
You think that it would be
I would
good?
really hope to never, ever, ever move again. Ever.
Okay.
Moving, first of all, is horrible, because then people get confused. If you don't remember last year, Mr. Crisafulli, who just left the room, decided to pave my road, pave Dilla Street on Saturday, twice. And people thought we closed for the season because we were able to relocate to town hall, but nobody knew, and it's just, I want one happy spot. I never want to move. Exhaustive, our committee has spent.
I mean, down the road, they were supposed to expand the parking lot at the trail.
Mm-hmm.
And if that parking lot were expanded, I would have thought that that would be a place of more permanent nature for you.
Are you talking about the one on
Dilla Street, yeah.
Well, that runs into the same problems that we run into now. Dilla Street is an absolute nightmare
Right.
at that end and at the before us and after us. And because of those two little spots, nobody wants to travel down the middle.
It's also not zoned properly.
It's not so, well, is it? I don't even know if that one is.
The
I know-
water company is sort of the end of the industrial.
Yeah, well, is that RA or RB?
I think it's, I'm not sure, it's one of the other.
Okay.
But not for commercial business.
Well, no, this is, the zoning bylaw that we're attempting to get passed would allow us an RA on anything over 5 acres, so it can't be on a 4-acre plot, it would have to be 5, so, but I don't think that they're gonna let that happen either, because it's so congested down there.
Yeah.
We're at least on the other end, so you can get to us from 85, you can get to us from over Fortune Boulevard, adding more traffic that close to that intersection, I can't see that being,
Had you considered the high school area?
yeah, and that is not zoned correctly, and it won't be
Well,
zoned,
with
that
this
I believe is
article?
RB.
It's RB, and we can.
RA is Stacy and Memorial, RB is the high school, which ties into Brookside, and I'm not sure about Woodland, but.
Well,
But the planning
you
was
could
specifically
revise the
for-
article to include RB.
We had originally asked for that, we were informed at the last meeting when they offered to sponsor it that RB would not be included.
Well, the high school, if you could get in the high school, there's a whole lot there behind the front that's absolutely, it's a no-brainer. And they have a problem with that?
We did, like I said, we asked for RB zoning to be added to the article. In case this didn't work out, in case the library decided to start offering Saturdays, in case we decided that we needed to renovate it during the summer, and we were told that they were uncomfortable with RB zoning, and it was removed from the article that will be sponsored at town meeting. So we, you know.
I can only assume that because RB is the majority of the residential district in town, it would open up
Yeah.
the subdivisions and anything like that, that could
Right.
do something similar, so.
Right.
That's
Well,
why
I
they
mean,
restricted it, I think, to the RA, so.
Well, I mean, I see both sides of it. I see that point where we're concerned that it's going to be this overzealous, you can go anywhere that you want to go. I see the other side of it, we're on 5 acres and it's a special permit, by special permit only, and we have to go in front of, so it's not like we're uncontrolled, it's not like we can just say we're gonna go over here. So I see both sides of it. I was slightly concerned that it didn't come up until the very last meeting and that there was no discussion. I didn't get anything other than, but right now, I'm not going to, I really don't want to lose 2 years of progress and middle ground in order to.
It's just the whole concept of you being stuck with a permanent place, which is not the most ideal permanent place to put it.
Well, I mean, it's better,
Better than it is, but.
it's more ideal than a lot of the other places. The high school actually isn't ideal because it's actually driving through many more residential neighborhoods than this would be. This is off mostly main roads, and even unless you're coming from that end of town, it doesn't impact as many residential neighborhoods with additional cars. The high school's farther off, it's not very visible. The only people that are really gonna see it are people who are up off of Fountain or who are already going up Congress. I can tell you that I can go months without going to the high school. And I mean, so optimally, something in this part, and the main part of it is that we're a community organization. We want to be part of downtown.
Yeah.
We want to revitalize it. We want to get people, we want to get.
Customers are downtown folk.
I don't even know if they are, honestly, but really the goal is to revitalize our downtown, get kids back in the park, get people walking on downtown, get people communicating with each other instead of just driving over to Hopedale or wherever they're gonna go. So that's a big part of our goal, is to make sure that we're not only here to get you fresh local stuff, it's also for you to have a place to go to meet your neighbors that maybe you didn't know a week ago. Or
Let me ask this question. Is the language that's being proposed at town meeting also restricting what you can sell at this to just a limited fruits and vegetables?
Not
And
quite.
But if that's the case, so why are they limiting? Who's driving the thinking as to limiting what can happen at a farmer's market?
The restrictions were worked on for quite a while. We went to 2 or 3 meetings, 3 meetings, 3 public meetings. I hashed out details with Larry. We gave them a list of the things that are commonly found at all farmers markets within a 50-mile radius of here. 3/4 of things were knocked off.
Okay, so like for instance, give us an example. What got knocked off?
Meat, fish, organic items, organic personal care items, goat items. Let's see, we have a whole list, don't we?
Okay, so
There's a whole list. The
So
biggest ones were meat and fish, and that was, I guess, because of refrigeration, if I remember correctly.
okay, so you're saying farmers markets in Hopkinton, they have meat and fish?
Yes.
Okay, and how do they resolve that refrigeration issue?
They don't have a refrigeration issue.
Well, they just
there
have-
are,
They must have ice, they must be using
there are,
ice.
state regulations say that you can have self-draining ice as long as you have a thermometer. Each board of health is responsible for their own regulations. So Milford could say you have to have a mechanical refrigeration unit, which are also available. None of them are diesel powered. Usually they're plugged into the car batteries.
But so you said 3/4 of the things that you wanna sell
Oh, yeah.
were eliminated from your option.
Mhm.
So doesn't that go to the heart of,
Yes.
destroying the farmer's market?
It's not gonna destroy it. Nothing will ever destroy us because we're kind of
Well,
passionate and we're.
My understanding was that they were concerned that it was starting to lean towards a flea market type thing as opposed to a farmer's market.
Right, and we said, unfortunately, we don't know which flea markets you've been to, but I mean, we're not comparing ourselves to a flea market. We never have been one. There is no resale of secondhand items. There's no antiques. There's no chickens. There's no.
Can people have candy
Yes,
for
you
sale
can
there?
have candy.
You have those, you have candy,
You know,
chocolate.
Chocolate.
Okay. So you can't have fish and meat.
Can't have fish and meat, even though we have.
Did we have fish and meat when it was at the town hall?
Mhm.
We did.
And we had meat last year.
Oh.
It's not, the problem, I mean, and I understand both sides of it, I'm concerned about it too, because you're in a residential zone, I get it. It totally makes sense. It's in a residential zone, we've never done it before, we're concerned about it, I get it. It
So
totally
if you,
makes
so
sense,
if
but
you did this in a commercial zone, you could sell meat and fish.
if I stay at the water
Feet, too.
company. Well, I could sell feet, but it might be illegal and the chief might be.
Which then
making a
get to
little-
me,
Selling fish is
I
gonna
was
be a
saying,
problem.
yeah.
did I say, it must be getting late. So,
Selling fish.
meat and fish. Alright, so you know, as I had suggested to you earlier, the Kmart parking lot is got parking, it's much more visible
But it's asphalt.
than these, but you're saying it doesn't have any
It's
grass.
pavement.
Yes.
Alright, so the town hall was all pavement, when we had the farmer's
Town
thing
hall
on.
was brief.
Which is
Huh?
why we left.
We don't,
Alright, so pavement is the problem, you want grass because,
Because of the ambient temperature, once you start getting into July, August, if you're walking on asphalt or concrete on a 95-degree day, it feels about 104 once it gets to you. And that's all wonderful until you have products sitting on a table in not only that 104 degrees, but in the sun potentially. You're talking about rotten vegetables, you're talking about stale bread, you're talking about melted candies and chocolates, you're talking about now your ice chest has to be at 31 degrees versus 38 in order to keep your meat and seafood cool. So the grass at least helps resolve that issue. Vendors will not come to, I mean, they will. I mean, you're gonna get like on the Mass Pike, but on the Mass Pike, you're talking about vendors who have rolling markets. Our vendors come with tables and refrigerators, but they can.
and they're there, it's not just 9 to 12, it's all day?
Yeah. Well, here we're open 9 to 1 on Saturdays, and they're only open. The one on Mass Pike's like Wednesday from 4 to 6, which means it's also in the evening.
I mean,
it's
if you're
slightly
open,
cooler.
again, if you're open 9 to 1, I mean, strawberries, I mean, Kelly's has been selling strawberries for 100 years up in Upton, and they have no problem. I mean,
They also have refrigeration.
not for their strawberries.
Yeah, they do.
Not,
Most of it. And the other problem is it's not whether or not you know what, if he's been doing it, that's wonderful. The vendors won't come.
So that they really don't want concrete.
No, they really don't.
Yeah.
The restrictions that have already been outlined in the bylaw currently, unfortunately, are already wreaking havoc with our market for next year because we can't get new vendors because they don't want to invest the time.
Okay.
So, I mean, I'm glad that it's gotten done. I want it to go through. I need as much support as I can to get it through.
Yep.
Because from here we can go forward, we can make changes, we can look at it again in 2 years, we can look at it again in a year. Because we can't step back at this point. If we step back, nothing will ever change, as we all well know.
Yep.
You know?
Most farmers markets are usually in a place like Stacy,
Yeah.
in the center of the community. They're not down in parking lots like Kmart.
It's
That
a
would be
community.
awful.
It's a community
It's a
thing,
community
and part of what it is.
You want to be
and-
inviting.
Well, it's not just inviting, but part of it is we want you to be able, and the draw of it is it's not just you're going to the store to buy your vegetables and your cereal and your meat and your cheese and whatever. It's, oh, I'm gonna run down there and I'm gonna get some flowers and some meat and some cheese and some vegetables. And oh, look, I saw my friend from high school who I haven't seen in 10 years. Let's stop and chat and we'll have a cup of coffee at the market table. And oh, while we're here, we're gonna grab some of this. And it's let me spend 10 minutes. Let me spend 10 minutes and see the people I haven't seen. Oh, I was going to talk to you. I didn't have a chance to call. Let me pick, let's talk about that now. You got 5 minutes? Let's go to lunch. That sense of community and being part of something is the absolute heart and soul of a farmer's market.
Absolutely.
I know
Gentlemen.
over in Grafton, they'll have it, they do the farmer's market over by the common area, right? And it's beautiful, that little area, and
Yeah.
and it's on grass.
Well, yeah, and
You
that's
got- and you got little.
that's the goal. I mean, that's why this is as close as we can get to grass in town park and center.
The library is closing in 15 minutes.
So we
All
need to go.
materials must
Yeah.
I just want
Is that the I don't want them to talk anymore, Bill?
Sorry. The farmers market, I know so many people from Milford that go to the Grafton one, just to go, because it's so beautiful.
Yeah, that one is invited, yeah.
So there's a public hearing that's coming up before town meeting,
There's a
right?
public hearing on April 21st. It starts at 7. I've been informed that that is a very heavy meeting date, so. And then
So the
there's,
public hearing is not just about the farmer's
no,
market?
there's public hearings for, I think, I know at least 4 other articles that are going in front of town meeting at the same time.
Now, who is that public hearing?
There
Who's
were-
holding it?
Planning board.
Oh, for the planning board.
Planning board.
In the Board of Selectmen's room at Town Hall?
I believe,
Yes,
is it?
yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
3.
Because they're the ones sponsoring article. They're the ones who ended up working through all
Right.
the.
So anybody who would like to suggest a change to the article with the planning board there, saying, you know, we really would like to see other items sold, this would be a good opportunity to do that.
I know that it's been sent out to, I know that I got a notice of public hearing for it because I'm within, I live right over there. And I actually got a notice because I'm within the 300 square.
You're in a butter.
Yeah, I'm in a butter to this parcel because this parcel includes not only Town Park, but Memorial and Stacy all the way down. So it impacts all these other, you know.
I know we're pressed for time, Jen, but I just have one question. If
Always.
the concerts in the summer can be held on the town park with hopefully crowds of people and food being served and sold and what, I have difficulty understanding why this community venture can't be held on the park.
It's town sponsored.
And this is not considered.
We're not town sponsored and they are. No, the food vendors that are up there, I was told at least that they had to go to bid beforehand, but the concerts in the park are technically town sponsored and we are not town sponsored.
Is there some kind of a method for seeking that kind of, you know, getting the farmer's market town sponsored?
We could. I mean, I'm sure we can ask the selectmen. They were not keen on that idea originally. Because it does open the liability, the benefit of us being, I mean, we have our own insurance, we're a separate entity, we're just here, we're not making any money, but we're here.
Right. Okay.
Certainly with the ultimate mission of your group to make it a community organization and a community event to nurture community, the town park seems like the most appropriate place to bring this type of adventure.
There's lots of grass there, I guess.
Well, I mean, the town park historically is a community centering place for activities. Certainly our town has grown away from that a little bit, but with the mission that you've stated, it seems like would tie in beautifully with that.
Well, the park.
And as a community, do we have a say in that?
You always have a say.
You know,
I don't have a.
I mean, I'm just trying to find a way to support.
you know, last summer, there was some sort of ethnic soccer celebration with food and music and the whole works. I mean, how come they can do this and we, the taxpayers, as well?
They were, I
can't do it?
believe, that one, I believe they were permitted by the Parks Department.
So why can't we do that?
Because that's not a commercial venture. Technically, the town is saying that we are a commercial venture, because there's retail, it's retail and sale.
So we can't,
The vendors make money, so there
was vendors there.
yeah,
Yeah, but commercial activity isn't allowed in a residential zone.
yeah.
Commercial.
Recreational activities are.
Right,
Yeah, no, I
that's
understand that, but.
Yeah, so
a
there's-
fine
The
line
town
there
park is not a
somewhere.
commercial zone though,
No.
Rita.
It's
No, that's what I'm saying.
No,
It's
it's
a
alright.
residential zone.
Right.
Right.
But those
That's
events
fine.
that take place
Yeah.
are recreational events.
That's a recreational event, and then the
It's
concerts
under
are
the
town
zoning bylaw
sponsored.
definition of uses.
So an
Which is what
exception-
we need to do. We need to be added, there is no definition of a farmer's market currently. There is no zoning for it, other than that we're commercial.
I
So
guess the
this,
question is, what can be done, I mean,
That's
to
right.
make an exception for this?
Right.
well, first we need to get this
This to
done.
me is much more important than.
That's what we're doing here, Peter.
Well,
This
yeah,
is
what
step
this is
one.
about.
Yes.
But it's a restricted exception.
This is a zoning
Yes,
change.
it's
So
a
that's what we're
restricted
gonna do?
exception, so it's not like we can go do it
It's
wherever.
not an open checkbook
Nope.
exception.
And not only is it not an open checkbook, it's, we have to go in front of them with the special permit, we have to go in front of planning board, we have to go in front of the selectmen, we have to go in front of everybody else and say, this is our plan.
The library is closing in
And now
10 minutes. All
We have to go.
in 5 minutes. The library is closing in 10 minutes.
Thank you, everybody, for coming, this has been great.